They said he was impossible to read. A man carved from silence, engineered from restraint. Someone who spoke rarely, but noticed everything. People projected fears onto him, desires onto him, stories onto him. He never corrected them. Why would he? Confusion is the most efficient form of control, and he learned that long ago. Still, people didn't avoid him. They drifted toward him like moths toward a dark flame, pulled by the gravitational field of his mystery. Because mystery does something to the human mind. It forces you to fill in the blanks with the most dramatic version possible. And with him, there were many blanks. But beneath that calm, unshakable exterior, something lived, something wounded, something he swore no one would ever see again, until one night, after pressure, conflict, and a collision he could no longer avoid, the impossible happened. The mask slipped. Not for long, not dramatically, just enough for one person to glimpse the truth behind the myth. And once a mask cracks, even for a second, it can never be worn the same way again.
Act 1. The Unreadable Man. It began in a room where words mattered too much, and silence mattered even more. He entered quietly, as he always did, not sneaking in, just appearing. He had a way of walking that was neither hesitant nor forceful, just impossibly composed, like every step was pre-calculated. When he entered, the air shifted, conversations softened, people straightened up without noticing. Everyone felt him arrive before they saw him, and no one could explain why. They called him M, not out of secrecy, but because no nickname felt intimate enough. He didn't invite closeness. He didn't encourage assumptions. He existed at a controlled distance from everyone, and people respected that distance even as they tried to cross it. Some said he was calculating. Some said he was cold. Some said he just didn't feel anything anymore. No theory was ever confirmed. No question was ever answered. He let them speculate because ambiguity was safer than truth. But on this particular night, something subtle shifted. Someone said his name, not loudly, not aggressively, but with a tone that pulled a memory from him. For a fraction of a second, something flickered behind his eyes. A quick involuntary contraction, almost like pain. Barely noticeable, yet for those who watched him closely, it was there. The mask slipped only by a millimeter and snapped back into place. He exhaled once, controlled, silent. Then he continued listening, observing, calculating. No one mentioned the flicker. No one dared. But the night was young, and the pressure was building.
Act 2. Pressure builds. There was one person in that room. One person who didn't fear misreading him. One person who wasn't intimidated by his silence. One person who pushed where others retreated. Her name was irrelevant. Her presence was not. She had known him long enough to sense the patterns. She noticed when something in him tightened. She noticed when he pulled away, internally, not physically. She noticed when the silence wasn't protective, but wounded. And tonight, she noticed that he was not as unreadable as he wanted to be. She approached him with the calm of someone who knew better, but cared too much to stop. "You're somewhere else," she said quietly. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. The absence of a response was the response. "You do this thing where you disappear while standing right in front of me." Her voice wasn't angry, it was tired. "So tell me, what's going on?" He looked at her, not through her, not past her, at her. This alone was unusual. When M looked at someone directly, it meant one of two things. Either he trusted them deeply, or he was deciding whether they deserved the truth. And tonight, he couldn't decide. His silence wasn't empty. It was defensive, deliberate, fortified, and she felt it. Moments later, something changed. A message, a name, a sentence overheard. Something that triggered a memory he had buried under layers of logic and self-control. His jaw tightened, not enough for a stranger to see, but enough for her to notice. His fingers curled into a subtle fist before relaxing. These micro-movements were the cracks in the armor, hairline fractures only visible under microscopic attention. She saw them all. "M," she whispered, "you don't have to pretend with me." But pretending was all he knew. His mask wasn't just a habit, it was a survival strategy, a weapon, a shield, a barrier that kept emotional chaos away. But the thing about masks is this: they work until someone gets close enough to touch them, and she was close now. Too close. "I'm not asking you for everything," she said. "I'm just asking you to let someone in. Once. Just once." This was the moment where people usually back down. Everyone else had. No one had ever pushed past his walls long enough to see what they were guarding. But she didn't back down. She stepped closer. "You think hiding makes you stronger," she said softly. "You think silence protects you, but it doesn't. It just isolates you from people who actually care." He swallowed, barely noticeable. Another crack. As the night continued, he withdrew deeper into silence. Not because he wanted to, but because he was losing control of his emotions. And control was everything to him. He walked away from the crowd and stood alone. The lighting shifted, darker, warmer, heavier. Shadows moved across his face, carving out every unspoken emotion he fought to suppress. He didn't cry. He didn't shake. But the stillness around him was no longer strength. It was strain. She approached him again, quietly, gently. "M, I know you think you're protecting yourself, but you're not. You're punishing yourself." He closed his eyes, a long, slow exhale. This time, uncontrolled. The mask was slipping, and he felt it.
Act 3. The mask slips. She faced him directly. "You push everyone away," she said. "Not because you don't feel, but because you feel too much, and you're terrified that someone will see it." He stayed silent. "You weren't born cold," she whispered. "You became this way. Something made you this way." He opened his eyes, slowly, heavily. "Stop," he said quietly. It was the first word he'd spoken in hours. His voice was calm, but not strong. There was weight in it. Grief, fear, regret. She stepped closer. "M, please, tell me why." And then she made the mistake, the one sentence he wasn't prepared for. "Who hurt you this badly?" He flinched. Not dramatically, not obviously, just enough. For the first time in years, he broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, but unmistakably. His voice, always so steady, cracked. Just once. Just enough to shatter the illusion. "You wouldn't understand," he whispered. His eyes, cold, controlled, impenetrable, shined with something raw. Not tears, but the suggestion of them. His breath caught in his throat. His mask fractured under pressure he could no longer contain. "It wasn't one thing," he said. "It was everything,
Every person I trusted, every time I opened up, every time I believed it was safe. He looked away, unable to hold her gaze, and every time it cost me something I never got back. The sentence landed like an earthquake, short, broken, honest. It was the truth he never meant to reveal. The wound behind the armor, the pain behind the strategy, the boy behind the mask. Then, just as quickly, he shut it all down. He inhaled sharply, straightened his spine, recomposed his face, wiped every emotion off his expression. The mask slammed back into place. His walls rebuilt themselves in seconds. "It doesn't matter," he said calmly. The Machiavellian tone returned. Controlled, cold, strategic. It's in the past, but she had already seen it. The truth he had buried so deeply, it surfaced for 1 second, and that was enough. She didn't say anything at first. She just stood there, processing what she had witnessed. The man she thought was made of steel was held together by scars he refused to acknowledge. He wasn't emotionless. He was overloaded, overwhelmed, overprotective of wounds he never healed. And in that moment, something shifted between them. Not romance, not pity, understanding. She finally saw him, not the mask, not the legend, not the myth, the man. The human being underneath all the layers of silence. He looked at her, mask fully restored. "Forget what I said," he whispered. But she didn't. Because once a mask cracks, even for a second, it can never be worn the same way again. And the dangerous ones are not the people who show their emotions, but the ones who hide them so perfectly that when they finally surface, they reveal a truth you were never meant to see.